Maharaj, I thought I would just sort of start in the beginning and talk to you through like pre-meeting Srila Prabhupada into meeting Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll just kind of continue through, if that suits you.
I'll say a few things too.
Okay. Yes. Anything you want to add, obviously, let me know.
We're rolling.
We're
so,
rolling?
Yep.
And if, as much as possible, if you can, think to incorporate the question into your answer. That's always helpful for us. So I wanted to talk to you first off a little bit about the sort of mid-60s atmosphere in the Bowery and what the Bowery looked like and what was happening in that part of New York City at that time.
First, let me say that I shave my head every day and put this tilak mark on every day. And I chant, I sing and dance and play musical instruments in public with devotees on occasion, on a regular basis. And because I live in a Hare Krishna community called New Govardhan, I give regular classes and write books, and that occupies a lot of my time. I go into the nearby town about every week or every fortnight. What the atmosphere in the was it in the early 60s?
Yeah, mid-early
was
60s.
like, I don't know, because I don't think I didn't identify closely with it, but there was a strong feeling among people that they wanted to get the United States out of the Vietnam War. They wanted to legalize LSD, they wanted to lower the voting age, and they were in a very revolutionary spirit about all these things. And they thought that they were God's gift to the world.
And the Bowery itself, what did it look like?
The Bowery is a kind of, for those who don't know, it's kind of a skid row of New York City. There's a lot of taverns, a lot of drunks, and sometimes they're lying on the sidewalks. And it smells like a mixture of urine and beer almost all the time.
Maharaj, if you can just be careful about tapping the sides of the chair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Should we ask that question once more, maybe?
That's fine.
Sorry, Maharaj, if you could just repeat your answer about... You mentioned like the Bowery being the skid row of New York.
The Bowery in New York City is known as the Skid Row. There's a lot of drunks and a lot of taverns and bars and people lying on the streets and on the sidewalks, and sometimes they die there. And it's a kind of a smelly place. It smells like a mixture of urine and beer almost all the time, day and night.
Hard to imagine Srila Prabhupada in that atmosphere. And what was happening with the younger generation at that time in reference to like the music scene, the art scene, and how that was culminating in the Bowery?
The younger generation, their mentality didn't really have much to do with the Bowery. They were further north in Manhattan Island. They were trying to get the voting age lowered to 18. They were trying to legalize LSD, and they were trying to get the United States out of the Vietnam War. And they were in a very kind of revolutionary spirit, and they all thought they were God's gift to the world.
And the figures, if you could describe a little bit about the Beat generation and who were the kind of main figures in that context.
I wasn't really much of a part of the Beat generation, but Allen Ginsberg was one of their icons. He was a poet. He's passed away now. And there was a kind of revolutionary spirit among that generation.
And in reference to some of the other figures, like there was the Timothy Learys, the Bob Dylans, just in general, that sort of atmosphere of the LSD drug-taking scene at that time. You speak a little bit about it in your book, about living in New York and the atmosphere that the young people were into. Do you feel like you could speak any more to those people? What they were doing?
The people that lived in the Beat generation don't exist anymore, so that's why I can't really speak to them. But that's history.
So, in your book, Your Miracle on 26 Second Avenue, you sort of speak from your perspective as a younger man. I think you were about 24 at that time you were living in New York. Are you able to describe yourself as this young man, what you were doing, what were you looking for at this time prior to meeting the Swami?
I think prior to meeting the Swami, I was a bit of a seeker. I didn't really identify with the Beat generation. I just didn't really have any definite direction in my life, other than the fact that I was seeking something greater.
And you were interested in sort of the music scene at that time?
I was playing in bands at that time, and that was kind of one of my main interests. I had gone to Reed College in Portland, Oregon. I'm a graduate, and I went to New York